Selfmade, what a way to open your career in the LEC. Not only beating world champions, or almost world champions, sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm thinking this year, almost world champion Fnatic, but also sniping Reckless to end the game. Fantastic. Sadly, it does not get easier for him today, going up against the monsters that are G2, what looks to be a potentially undefeated super team. I think a lot of people are skeptical about.
Do you remember what I said when we had our pitch about like who is Selfmade? How do I get excited for SK? What did I say? You lied, it's fine. I said that he was baby Jankos. I said, get excited about Selfmade. I've watched him in the Spanish League. I've watched him on Mad Lions. I think he's incredibly talented, and he reminded me a lot of Jankos in his high days. So now we get to see baby Jankos versus actual Jankos and the super villains that are G2.
And I'm ready to see it. Picks and bans, of course, going to be incredibly crucial. First game we're going to see in the LEC on 9.2. Now, not the biggest set of changes to individual champions, but a lot of small nerfs across some meta picks, as well as some pretty sweeping changes to the jungle. Could mix things up a little bit, Froskurinn, but what are we expecting to see here with SK on the blue side?
Well, for me, I really actually want to hone in on those jungle changes, and since we are talking about Jankos and Selfmade, see what the meta is going to be for the LEC. Now, in the LCK, they tended to stay toward those aggressive junglers, and if you guys haven't looked at the jungle changes, it's in the experience. So there's 25% less experience in the jungle, roughly, and that means there's less resources. So what are your options? Do you go high gank jungler and you try to get those resources through ganking the lanes, getting these kills, or do you go low econ jungler and say, okay, you get less, but you take a champion that needs less to really thrive? And the question is for me, are we going to see the Xin Zhaos, the Lee Sins, or is it going to be Zac, Sejuani, and which direction LEC is going to go?
Iverns.
We're probably going to see an Ivern, actually.
But it's interesting to see what SK have prioritized. They've taken away the Karthus, do not want to give that one to Jankos, as well as the Jace, so limiting a lot of those incredibly powerful laning picks. Opposite side, Lissandra did not get touched in 9.2, surprising a lot of people, so remaining at the top of the pick totem pole. But now, SK need to figure out how exactly they want to approach this draft. For now, it looks like the Lucian could be the first pick coming in for Crownshot. And going toe-to-toe with Perkz in the bot lane, you feel like as a, more traditional ADK player, not a former mid laner, he has something to prove here.
That said, one of the few champions that Perkz hasn't shown yet is the Ezreal, so actually going back towards a marksman. And then the other champion that was left open in terms of your two priority picks, it was Lucian and it was Urgot. Urgot was slightly tapped on 9.2, but they didn't notice it in the LCK, and Wunder's probably not going to notice it up in that top lane.
Absolutely not. So getting themselves good priority picks. The Ezreal, something we don't see as much, very often taken away here, alongside the Urgot. Once again, of course, a flex pick can go to the hand of Caps or Wunder, depending on how they want to play this one. And the Braum now coming in as well for SK. So Crownshot Dreams already set up for success here on the bottom side of the map. The potential to be incredibly aggressive with that concussive blows combo.
And my question is, are they going to grab jungler and first rotation before second ban phase, or are they going to grab a flex pick and try to survive some of their solo lanes? Facing G2 on any side of the rift is terrifying, but facing G2 on red side is exceptionally so, because then they have counter pick almost guaranteed for Caps.
And that's some confidence coming in. Blind, not quite 100% blind, but semi-blind Kennen, taking it into what they believe will be an Urgot, but the risk of flex picks, as you said, is always there.
And this matchup was popularized by Odo over in the LEC, and of course the Klepto changes give a lot of power back to the Kennen. It is a very strong matchup into the Urgot, because he's one of the few ranged champions that can match Urgot's range in the top lane.
The Thresh now locked in as well for Mikyx, so it looks like the bot lanes at least are confirmed for now, short of something incredibly creative with the Ezreal. Talking about the Braum, Lucian, Thresh, Ezreal, what can we expect out of this bot lane, Froskurinn?
I'm going to say it's going to be an all-in. I love the fact that, Lucian for the longest time, I think coming into the season, people are like, Lucian's the strongest bot laner, maybe outside Cassiopeia. He's almost must-ban, and now he's starting to slip through, and it feels like people are feeling a lot more comfortable taking the Ezreal into the Lucian. Delay your back, try to get your Sheen instead of a tier, and you can start matching Lucian and some of that 2v2 dominance.
And we'll see, too, if Perkz can try his hand at, once again, a more traditional AD carry. He's only had a few games under his belt so far this season. The Xin, though, taken away. So the aggressive junglers, looks like that was the style that G2 expect to be facing, or at least want to limit. But, of course, pick of the litter when it comes to the remaining tank junglers. Sejuani is still up and available.
What's also interesting to me is kind of the rise of Ryze, or I guess I should say the return of Ryze. We're starting to see him creep up a little bit, a lot more in the LCK and the LPL, but he really hasn't been touched in the LEC, despite how many strong Ryze players we have. So I'm curious if we're going to see him slip more onto the ban phase, or even the pick phase, as Galio has also been nerfed.
And just continuing to see the aggressive junglers picked out. The Galio you mentioned would have synergized incredibly well with the Camille. G2 have, of course, limited that option. taking their time here in the final ban. Could see a mid laner taken off the board. Once again, the Syndra now to match the Rise as well. So pretty confident, looks like, from the side of SK that they will be facing that Urgot in the top lane and just trying to take some of Caps' options off the board.
A lot of his roam potential, like you said, though, he could go for something like a Galio if he just wants a sustainable laner. Maybe he even goes crazy and he grabs another assassin. I know the Yasuo has been targeted out of him. It's not necessarily the greatest into this pickup, but it's Caps. Who knows what's going to happen?
And I'm going to be honest, Froskurinn, now looking at the Sejuani locked in, this is the tamest G2 draft we have seen all season. The only thing left that really feels like it has the potential to be flexed is the Urgot. The Sejuani has been flexed before, but for any other team, I wouldn't even consider that a possibility. Now, though, the Leblanc locked in. So it looks like comfort picks are the priority for SK, giving Werlyb a Kennen an aggressive laner, and now Pirean getting a playmaker for himself. Have to wonder how Selfmade is going to complement this. What is he going to pull out from the jungle to go toe-to-toe with the Sejuani?
A lot of LCK junglers would pick something like the Zac that can scale along the Sejuani, but Lee Sin means that he's going to be ganking before her.
And that is a statement right there. Wanting to come out swinging, wanting to come out aggressive, knowing that they have to take down G2 in the early game. They want to come out on top, and you heard Perkz say it, hey, they have to hope that we kind of run it down. And if any champion can capitalize on people mispositioning, it is definitely the Lee Sin.
I love the aggression in the lane phase. It feels like most of the time Selfmade's the guy that carries the crowd control for SK Gaming. This time around, there's not a lot of crowd control to be found, but there is explosive burst damage and a lot of winning lanes. Feels like SK recognize, okay, we're against G2, these guys roll everyone over in the lane phase. Let's not play dead. Let's not play scaling. Let's actually try to match them toe for toe, tit for tat in these lane phases and see what we can get out of it.
And that is a bold decision. G2, a team that can kind of strong-arm their way through any matchup, no matter how weighted against them it is, just due to raw mechanical skill. But I feel like we've seen some greatness come out of all the players here on the side of SK, but have yet to see it transition into a win against one of these top teams. Maybe today is the day that they can do it. G2 were caught out against XL last week. Maybe SK can find some of those same opportunities. And Caps is not on that Akali. These are not the crazy playmaking champions. They're going to give them the opportunity for some kind of insane comeback.
Yeah, there's actually a lot more pressure for this guy on your screen in Perkz. You know, picking up the Ezreal, when you have something like a Sejuani and a Viktor, that amount of zone control in front of you, you have to look at Perkz to be that massive damage output and say, okay, we're giving you the space, we're giving you the time, we're giving you these massive AoEs. Now do your thing on Ezreal. Start skating between all of this and min-max a lot of that damage output.
And as an update, last second swap, we've got Urgot in the mid lane. We've got the Viktor on the top side of the map for Wunder.
It couldn't be normal.
Could not give it to us 100% straight, could they? Here we are, first game of the day, first game of week 3. Question on everyone's mind, can SK do it? Can they be the first team to take a win off an undefeated G2 Esports, or does the super team keep on rolling through? SK versus G2 starting now.
That last-minute swap looks like giving a lot of respect to the Kennen Urgot matchup. Wunder didn't want to be put into that deficit, so grabbing hold of the Viktor, and Caps taking that into the mid lane. Likewise, Urgot much tankier. It's going to be harder for Pirean to find a lot of that big poke burst damage and have more kill pressure on the Urgot. So I do like the adaptation from G2. We talk all the time about the depth of their champion pools, how dangerous that makes them in draft, because they can flex anything, not just between 2 roles or 3 roles, up to 4 roles can flex here.
Sometimes you're scared, you know, you're wondering where these picks are going to go. Hey, is the Sejuani maybe top lane this time around? But they can also just, the real mix-up is when they play standard, Frosco, which is like what we're seeing here. This is the most normal draft we've seen from G2 yet. Perkz on an AD carry, very traditional support. Nothing really crazy outside of that final swap. For now, battle for vision. Just a small trade here between these respective players. You talked about early aggression coming out. We got that Lee Sin, we see this Kennen, we see this LeBlanc, but where are we looking for Selfmade to go?
For me, I want to kind of track the level 6. So Lee Sin's an interesting pick here because, again, you have less resources in the jungle, so where do you make up those resources? On a champion like Lee Sin, you obviously always have the option to look for those ganks, especially with Pirean's LeBlanc. High burst damage, kill threat is massive there, but if you fall into that trap where you try to hard scale to level 6, that's where Lee Sin gets his big power spike, because obviously his ultimate does so much damage. It's taking junglers much longer to get to that level 6 experience mark, and where they used to do it around 6 minutes, they're doing it closer to 7 minutes in the LCK. And that's massive because Selfmade's the guy where all of the action happens around. So if he's slowed down, if he's not making plays, you know, that much faster into the game, it could slow everything down for SK.
And you can see this, we've talked a lot about Selfmade's kind of tropes already in the games that we've seen him in. Now, of course, likes to spend most of his time around that mid lane, but we almost always see at least one gank towards the bottom side, and Kennen is there to give him the setup. He definitely has the damage if Kennen can lock the target down. So it really does feel like all eyes on Selfmade here in the early stages of the game.
It still feels a little bit like the Mad Lions. Coming from the Spanish League, SK took 3 of their 5 members. That's Werlyb, Selfmade, and Crownshot, and you saw it in his jungle proximity. Selfmade is still playing around his old school teammates, and I feel like the evolution from Mad Lions to SK Gaming in the LEC means that he needs to start giving a little bit more love to Pirean. Pirean's actually been quite significant. Nemesis went on record in saying that Pirean's one of the most underrated mid laners in the LEC. He's performed decently well now looking across from Caps, and I just want to see this combo take off and take SK to the next level.
And of course, in a decent spot to do it, he's playing, you know, a huge playmaking champion like Leblanc, going up against Urgot, kind of, let's just say, not the most interactive laning phase for both these champions, more focused on clearing out the champions. But once we get into that mid game, you're looking at some of the squishier members on the side of G2, like a Thresh, like an Ezreal, and maybe that is where Pirean can make the impact. For now, though, Caps continuing just to threaten here in the mid lane.
I know that Caps is on a tankier champion. It's still going to be hard to deal with him, and he also has a lot of pressure in the lane phase because that's just naturally what Urgot does. But again, I don't want to underestimate the power of Leblanc, Lucian, and their ability to kill anyone.
Pirean, though, may have overstayed his welcome now. Needs to try to make his way out to safety. First blood, taking down Caps, getting too aggressive, too reliant on the jungler. Jankos is going to get one back, but a misstep coming in for Caps in the mid lane.
And you're absolutely right. It was the over-reliance on Jankos. He saw that his jungler was nearby. He felt safe going aggressive there, maybe some miscommunication, but Pirean just slapped Caps in lane phase. Now bot.
The aggression does not stop, but luckily Dreams has the Unbreakable. A good hook landed by Mikyx, but not on the priority target they were looking for. Perkz and Mikyx for now just shoved under their tower. The aggression of Lucian and Braum providing at least enough to shove in a tower. But let's take a look back at this. Pirean playing this one very well.
And again, it just felt like, you know, Caps feels that he's safe to be there. Maybe doesn't respect the burst damage coming out of Leblanc too much there. Pirean well played it, making sure that all of his damage abilities hit. And then Jankos does eventually trade 1 for 1. So the wave is fine, teleports back in, but still never feels good to walk into lane phase 4 minutes in and give over first blood.
Never does. And of course, Caps' first professional game in the LEC, or rather in Europe, on Urgot. So, you know, you want to show people that your champion pool is deep, but if you're dying on those champions, I don't know if that really counts.
I mean, it's deep if you're 6 feet under.
Well played. For Pirean, though, now he wants to keep this pressure going, has the double dark seal, but ooh, taking that tower shot puts him in a bit of an awkward spot, taking a second one as well. Caps just hoping to run this kill down. No sums, though, or he might be able to chase a little bit further. Pirean getting aggressive, though, still, despite everything, massive CS deficit for him.
He's not going to have that same window to have that type of aggression, though, on Caps, when Caps does change his teleport. So a big reason why Pirean was fine to take that early level trade was the Ignite versus teleport difference between the mid lane or summoner spells. When Caps is level 6 and he swaps out that TP for the Ignite, it's going to get a lot riskier for Pirean to continue to be that aggressive.
You have to be careful. Once Urgot marks you, once he hits you with that ultimate, if you drop low enough, you are going to die. And of course, have to respect the potential for Jankos to come out of the fog of war. We've seen Selfmade make great use of the Sejuani Q plus ultimate combo. And now Perkz looks to be the man in trouble. Are they going to be able to burn him down in the early game? Crownshot. Firing back with the hook, but not able to get him so close. Perkz keeping up in CS, but Crownshot reminding him who the real AD carry is.
This might be... I don't think he's counter-ganking. I think he's actually just creating a safety net for Wunder. So hold on. First damage here.
Chain does connect. You're now going to back off. Selfmade looking for the follow-up. That's level 6 now coming out. Slowly bringing him down, but they're actually backing off. Jankos is on the way. Pirean, if he gets dash forward, it could get interrupted here. They're not going to be able to kill Caps.
So much respect giving to Jankos right there. Level 4 on the Sejuani. I feel like Pirean could have pushed that a little bit more, especially because he had the flash. So maybe it's getting to him that it's G2 that he's facing of all people.
Frost, we're going to go a little bit back, but back when G2 was at the top of the Europe, probably said something about this team that I think is starting to come true once again, which is that they've been good for so long and they're so terrifying that people give them extra respect that they don't need to, that they play a little bit scared. And that's what that looked like to me right there, because I feel like Selfmade just pushed a little bit deeper. Yes, you have to respect Caps' ultimate, but he has to respect you, and you got to teach him that. Doesn't take the risk, though, in the end, and it does cost them. A bit of an awkward situation now as Perkz is going to be able to push in on the bottom side, recoup some of his losses from earlier on, and is sitting pretty on that Sheen.
Yeah, and that's the big thing, the fact that he was able to stay in the lane long enough, didn't quite get his Sheen tier back. You can see he's got the Sapphire Crystal, so it's going to delay a little bit of those stacks and some of that hyper-scaling, but he does feel comfortable taking some of these aggressive trades with that Sheen. And I feel it's like across the board, SK are trying to be brave to G2. They're trying to challenge them in lanes.
Now Selfmade does get spotted out, but they're not going to commit for anything else. Level 6 for the Lee Sin, you talked about it. This is the point where we want to see it. Well, it's 7 minutes now. Still not quite there.
It feels bad as a jungler. And again, maybe this is just a small sample size. We'll start to see over time if people start moving away. Because again, 7-15 in the game, finally Lee Sin gets that level 6. And if they're going to start moving towards the likes of the Sejuani, the Zax, these low econ champions that don't necessarily need their ultimate to be hyper proactive or a lot of gold because they're so tanky with their base stats. But he finally got it. Huge burst damage for the Lee Sin. And again, kill pressure is everywhere now because of Selfmade's champion.
So it's eyes on Selfmade, as it was in the earlier game. Now seeing him hover around the bottom side of the map. For now, focusing on the Krugs, but maybe they can make a play down here. Perkz has been caught out a few times, let's say, in some bad trades. Has yet to go down, but has come very close. But Jankos in the mid lane may be looking to make a difference. The burst damage here from Caps and Jankos combined could be enough to just cut through the LeBlanc. But they're going to need to land something onto Pirean first. Very difficult against the LeBlanc with ulti.
As long as Pirean hides. I think he has a heads-up play about this. You can see there's danger pings across the map, so he is at least aware, not necessarily what side Jankos is on, but that Jankos is probably in the area with how aggressive Caps is playing, and also knowing that he has the Ignite available. So the counter gank here, Selfmade and Pirean are trying to set a trap.
Baiting him in, Pirean does the double dash forward. Cap says, hey, maybe I have the opportunity here. Does get locked up. They're going to keep going for a little bit more. Are they going to be able to burn him down? But no, the perfect stun! They're beyond death! That was so clean.
Lee Sin has his ultimate, couldn't get it off in time. That would have been the burst damage, the difference maker, a millisecond of a frame, and that's why Caps is so good.
That's why, yeah, that ult was perfectly timed, and these are the narrow windows.
But
playing the odds, hold that thought, the flash out from bot lane. They're gonna back off. Colin comes in. Perkz. Now he's running. Oh! Hit him with the Winter's Bite.
No more winning lane phase today, boys.
SK are going toe-to-toe with G2 right now. Froskurinn. They're fighting back. They are not afraid. Crownshot and Dreams are showing up, and we were moments away from seeing Caps go down once again. Luckily for G2, they are able to turn it, and the gold is just about dead even. But this is not the one-sided affair we expected it to be.
And we do have to take account where SK are trying to attack G2 here. The fact that there's been so many repeated ganks on Caps in that mid lane is... You said it. I was wrong. It was Jankos. I give him his respect.
Jankos, the hero, the stun. The ulti from Caps, though, does make it beautiful, and just the chain CC is flawless. This replay, of course, brought to you by Alienware. And there's nothing quite as, I would say, humiliating as almost killing an Urgot and then having him ult you to kill you.
Feels bad. It's now bottom.
Yeah, we look at this replay again, and tanking the full culling is difficult. That Lantern feels a bit tragic. Of course, every cloud has a silver lining, Froskurinn, and the silver lining right now for G2 in that exchange is the kill didn't go to the Lucian.
I was waiting for what it was going to be, because eating an entire culling and not taking the Lantern doesn't feel great.
It's not the worst thing that can happen, but luckily Jankos is here. Maybe they can recoup some of their losses. Perkz and Mikyx looking tasty. See, they've baited them into a false sense of security by dying in lane, and Jankos is here to punish that.
That's the 4D chess. You make it so they're not scared to go aggressive on you, and then you have Jankos for the counter gank.
We saw it worked out for Caps. Selfmade, though, still not too afraid of Jankos, but not entirely certain. Does see the play coming in mid lane. Dreams and Crownshot, though, see an opportunity. Ooh, that was clean from Mikyx. Fantastic sidestep. The hook comes out. Now Dreams has overstayed his welcome. Beautiful Zanya to dodge the Ezreal ult. Jankos is here for the follow-up. He's going to make it out. Fantastic cancel once again from Dreams. The supports back and forth. Some fantastic individual mechanical plays. The flash out. A little unnecessary. Now trying to walk it off to safety. Keep your eyes on Caps and the ultimate available. Firing out. Does connect on the Crownshot. Wants to get a little bit more damage. Wants to get just enough to bring him home. Fear Beyond Death won't connect. TP now coming in. Pirean now playing him on the side. Werlyb on the side, coming right in the middle of the team. Cutting through the G2 lineup, but not quite enough on the ultimate. Pirean going in. Werlyb gonna grab the kill in the end. SK aren't just matching anymore, Froskurinn. They are winning in these exchanges. A 1K gold lead in their back pocket.
And think of how many skills just didn't connect from G2. Some of the Mystic shots missed. A lot of that was good dodging, nicely timed flashes from the members of SK, but these are mistakes that you don't normally see. And it feels like when they have skill shots, they're targetable abilities. But in the long exchange, as this just kind of continued to drag on, so much of G2's damage just didn't connect with their targets. The fact that the Hourglass was perfectly played over the Ezreal, the fact that the Sejuani ultimate was slightly dodged by Dreams, repositioning himself with the W.
I believe he got hit. I believe he input buffered the W, or he got stunned mid-flight
and then just repositioned and was able to walk.
It's just so clean from both these players. And now, this awkward moment where that kill on the Crownshot could have turned the fight, but a slight miscalculation. And SK just dominate.
And this is now back-to-back games. I thought going into SK, you're like, okay, how do you beat G2? You look at the XL game. What went wrong there? Well, frankly, G2 just kind of ran it down into that bot lane. I was like, that'll never happen again. And yet, here we go. G2 is starting to dig themselves in this hole where they overreach in the bot lane, and SK are able to pick up so many kills on the back half.
Now, it is a small sample size. You don't want to make sweeping statements, but it does raise the question, is Perkz the weakness for this team?
Sweeping statement.
Yeah, has someone is this it? Has someone finally found the weakness of the super team? Is Perkz the member that can be exploited? Is on the Ezreal though, so we'll be safe for now.
I don't feel like that's true to what SK's game plan was. It felt like they said, okay, we're going against G2. We know we got to respect Caps. We're going to be afraid of him. And it's just been repeated ganks. And now it finally tipped over and leaked into the bot lane. But so far, it feels like SK have just been throwing everything. Lucian, Leblanc at Caps repeatedly.
Building towards that 2K gold lead. Now, no bigger objectives have gone down yet. No towers, no dragons. The Rift Herald's still up and available. But the next fight, if it is highly favoring one team, will lead to one or two of those objectives. And that could be a crucial gold swing. TP, though, now coming bottom.
It's Caps.
Urgot looking for the follow-up. Crownshot has overstayed his welcome. Dreams needs to find a way to disengage, but it's going to be a difficult ask as Crownshot gets lower and lower. Fear Beyond Death's available. They're taking their time with this one. Quite easy for G2 in the end. Clean follow-up. Dreams now trying to make it on safety. Pirean is on the way, but it looks like he is just going to be a sacrificial lamb. Pirean and Selfmade turn right back around. They want nothing to do with it, and G2, just like that, are right back in the game.
Yeah, too little too late to the party for SK. Now G2 can take whatever they want. It looks like they want to push them off of this tower, make sure that they can't take the mid tower, or at least get damage on it while they maybe turn towards the Mountain Drake. I'm actually curious how far that they were going to chase them.
You're never sure. You want to wonder.
They're still going.
Chasing a LeBlanc does not feel like a winning proposition, but the longer they spend keeping LeBlanc from doing anything else, the longer that Perkz gets to sit here in this bottom lane and free hit on the tower. He's already gotten one piece of turret plating to himself. Looks like he will get a second, so that is 340 gold. 20 gold, 320 gold.
I also do want to point out that Mikyx placed a very deep ward. Lucian actually just walking over it right now. Teleport discrepancies.
Locked down, Selfmade is right there, but Werlyb is just going to get cut through in an instant. Pulled right back, but he brings the stun back to the team. Selfmade is going to be able to find a kill back. Now trying to outplay this one, now trying to play it safety. Caps, taking a lot of damage here. The dash to the side, Selfmade, the clean looking plays. Jankos manages to live in the end, but it's so close, and now it is Crownshot in trouble. Perkz and Mikyx are looking for a little bit of revenge. They know the Braum isn't there, they know Crownshot's life is in their hands, and they say not today. But here comes the rest of SK. Looking for the follow-up kills. Perkz has the flash available. He needs to make it out of safety. Lantern is there. Pirean knows not to follow up, and a good hook by Mikyx would have connected, but Pirean snaps right back. No interest in that fight.
Just a hit and run from G2 as they clap back on SK. It feels like we've been going back and forth in the lane phase. Who was going to win the lane but Caps? I think it was from bot to mid to top lane. Just rolled through every single lane and won it back for G2.
And G2 looking incredibly confident, laughing on stage, feeling alive. It was a bit shaky there for a few minutes, but the second they find an opportunity, the second SK exposes some of those weaknesses, they can capitalize instantly.
And just using the tankiness that they have in Sejuani and the Urgot. Werlyb probably suspects that someone's going to be there, walks over right into that Sejuani ult, doesn't feel good.
And Selfmade makes the most of this play, almost manages to make it out, but clean coordination on the tower dive for Jankos to tank that extra shot works out for them.
That was the big thing, is how well Jankos was able to juggle the tower aggro, and then unfortunately Crownshot, a little bit too greedy, too far forward in the lane, and Mikyx and Perkz made him pay.
And now with the blue buff and 2 items working towards that key 2 item spike for the Ezreal, G2 are starting to look a lot more confident as they start to push out the mid lane.
And it's also at this point in the game where their champions have all of their item breakpoints. Again, across the board, you see that they have the superior itemization. So G2 will feel really comfortable to group up and really start abusing with this composition, particularly on that Ezreal poke.
Don't know if SK want to give them that opportunity, though, Frost. We have the flank potential from a Kennen at any moment. It is the AP Kennen, along with Pirean, who can look to leap in, but it's so hard to know if you're going to get the right flank.
It's almost impossible if G2 play it right. A, their vision line. B, the fact that they have Ezreal and Thresh. And the fact that they're able to go aggressive in this mid lane. Which, what that means is they don't have to group up. Check out how fed Perkz is. 4-2-2. He can be in a side lane and no one can contest him as long as they keep him
common mistake.
position.
The G2 mid laner is Caps now. Perkz is the AD carry.
Wow, muscle memory just slipped it out.
Perkz is the Ezreal. I know, it's weird. It takes a long time to get used to. But you're right, Caps 4-2-2. This is a terrifying Urgot. Definitely eat through any stats that your teammates have with that Black Cleaver. And now they're going to get the Mountain Drake as well. So make the Barons and these towers a little bit easier to take. SK, though, maybe looking for that fight. You can see Werlyb hover around on that flank.
Deep teleport. They're going to try to start it with Kennen.
Dreams, though, if he goes down right here as the fight kicks off, it's going to be a difficult start. The fear comes out. They pull right back. They're biding their time. Werlyb now moving in, trying to lock up 3 members. He's going to stun down 2. Crownshot looking for the follow-up with the Colin. Can he take anybody down? Mikyx still alive, trying to cut him down. Is going to get him. Pirean is here. He's backing off. 1 kill going in the favor of SK. Jankos ready to go back. Wunder off to the flank, but it's just a Viktor. Not going to be a big threat to those members under the tower. Absolute bloodbath.
And the key thing is that G2 are safe to do this with the Thresh and the Ezreal as long as they have their vision. The one ward that they didn't spot is the one that the Kennen was able to TP from. Otherwise, look at all of the vision control that G2 have around this area. They're trying to clear it out. They're trying to save their flanks so they can continue to push forward on this mid lane.
Important that they start to break some of these towers down to push this advantage that they have. Crownshot is here to cover the wave. No calling means it's going to take a bit longer to clear. Perkz is happy to have this back. We're going to see what his build decision is. Is he going to go for the double tier? Will he look for the Blade of the Rune King here? Again, so many people trying to leap on top of him. But now, as we look back, this is such a close play.
I also really like the confidence. You know, some teams will say, okay, our support got picked off. We don't have the numbers, let's not do this. But SK knew that this was their one opportunity. Make the most of a big cooldown like the teleport, and then force the play and see what they can get off of it. So I like Kennen, he comes in, sees that Dreams dies, he's like, we're forcing this anyway, go in now. And that's the only option that they have because the poke is too strong from G2.
Willing to commit, willing to double down on what could have been a bad play, and you have to wonder if the Leblanc had been there 1 or 2 seconds sooner, could have that been 3, maybe 4 kills for SK. There's a lot of low health bars on that G2 lineup. Of course, the double magic pen coming in for Leblanc was hit a little bit on this patch. We'll wait to see the Ludens as the next item. And Urgot sitting comfortably on 2. Rift Trail going to be crucial, and G2 in absolute control. I feel like any game we see G2 get any kind of advantage, they just snowball so effectively.
They have been slowed down a little bit, and it doesn't feel like it though, because we're seeing them still in the aggressive position now, taking the Rift Trail and probably going to use that on an inner tower. But let's not forget that Pirean did manage to get something in the bottom side, and will still hit pretty hard on this Leblanc, but hasn't been involved in the most recent fights.
Perkz feeling confident. They have split this lane in an awkward fashion. Ulti's not going to connect. G2 will just back off on that play. SK retreating into their own jungle.
Feels like SK lose a lot of agency on how they want to fight G2 when they don't have the TP available to them, because again, they're so reliant on that Kennen getting the flank to force this G2 Thresh Ezreal combo to actually fight them.
Ooh, the flash is coming out though. And I like that you bring that up, because SK is a team that we've seen when they're in control of the game, they look so good, they look confident, they look controlled, and when they lose a bit of control, when they start to fall behind, things do get a little bit shaky. That Kennen play, though, does show us that there is some potential there for them to look for these more aggressive plays, these turnaround plays, these riskier plays, which I think if you're watching the evolution of SK is a good sign to see.
What's nice is that when you were watching the Mad Lions, you knew that this team was intelligent with their macro plays, so they shouldn't be completely outmaneuvered by some of the more advanced or veteran teams in the LEC. In fact, you can see them here. They're responding perfectly on time for the Rift Herald. It does get its charge off, but not much else.
Definitely a few seconds off of that not happening. Good spot for G2. Perkz just wreaking havoc in the mid lane on this Ezreal, playing so confidently. Goes for the QSS. Not interested in any more damage, just wants to continue to be a nuisance. Does not want to get locked up by the Kennen or the LeBlanc, and Wunder is going to grab a tower on the bottom side. So remember, early in the game, about a 2k gold lead for SK. Now 3k in the favor of G2 alongside those 3 towers and that mountain. G2 pretty much in complete control here. You can see the individual lane differences are actually pretty staggering outside of the top lane, where Werlyb still holds on to that lead.
And the scary thing is going to be in 1 minute when the Infernal Drake decides to spawn. At this point, G2 are going to feel very confident fighting it. I expect them to roll into this area and kind of pick what monster objective they're going to set their vision over. Is it going to be the Baron? I doubt it. It's probably going to be the Infernal, and how punishing that will be on Perkz' Ezreal, one of the AD carries that maximizes the most out of that buff.
It's just miserable to play against a fed Ezreal. When he gets behind, no one cares. But when he's doing well, when he's got a 550 gold bounty, and you've now officially stacked up enough for the Muramana, does wreak havoc on the enemy bot line. They're donating the blue buff over to Perkz. Nice enough not to take it away, or nice enough to give it to him instead of the Urgot. And I think Baron, crucial point now, Froskurinn. Of course, it has changed on this patch, and I'm curious to see how that's going to affect G2's strategy.
It's a little bit weaker in the early game. Let's hold on, maybe a trap. Doesn't connect.
Trap for that minion.
So the Baron buff, a bit weaker in the early game. It's still going to scale just as hard, and it's trying to give teams some advantage to fight back when they do lose control like this. So Riot trying to stop, or it feels like halt a little bit of the snowball game that we've seen dominate the 9.1 meta.
Is 9.2 going to be a different story is the question. For now, focus on the Infernal Drake as G2, 5 members strong here. SK ready potentially for a fight if they want to kick it off. Kennen could come in on the backside, but very difficult to approach G2.
The question was always going to be, what would SK do when G2 were taking the Infernal? Maybe they look for a cheeky steal or something like that, but they should have traded some vision.
Now they're trying to set their sights on Jankos. 2 stacks, gonna look for the chain CC, trying to delete the jungler, but Mikyx is off to the side.
Huge
Perkz is just free damage across the entire line. Here comes Werlyb, but he might be a little bit too late. Now the Fear are gonna get pulled back. They're just getting shredded. Not the engage SK wanted whatsoever.
The only silver lining for SK here is the fact that Selfmade's still alive, has Flash and the Smite. So as we see G2 turn towards the Baron, maybe there's a shot in hell, but frankly, SK might have just had the nail in the coffin there.
Yeah, they hammered it in themselves, sadly, and G2 apt to punish, going to continue chasing, trying to keep the jungler away. Perkz trying to chase this one down. Selfmade trying to play ring around the Rosie, but they're not even focusing on the Baron anymore. He gets deleted. Free entry for G2. Werlyb, ultimate up and available. He needs to try to find something here, but Wunder's such a confident duelist at this point in the game. Perkz coming over the wall. Werlyb, all but guaranteed to die here. Here comes the ultimate running for his life. The flash! Within an inch of his life, Baron will fall in the favor of G2.
But that is just the consolation prize that SK get out with Werlyb's life. Like you're saying, the Baron over to G2. Yes, the Baron changes have gone on to 9.2. It's not as powerful as it once was, but SK, they're a little bit white knuckle right now. They really have to hang on because G2 are snowballing this game so far out of control. Just the damage that Ezreal ult did was disgusting.
I mean, if you're going to line up for Perkz, he's going to happily take the shot, and sadly, this was all brought about on an SK engage. You have to wonder, why are they engaging on the Sejuani of all members? It feels like they just capitalized on the first opportunity they saw.
And I feel like the moment is that SK need to go back to this VoD, and when G2 walked to the Infernal, decide, what did we do with our time there? We were never going to be able to fight them. Why didn't we grab control over the vision around the Baron and the mid area to not fall into a flank like that?
Feels like desperation. Feels like they weren't entirely sure what they needed to be doing, but Pirean now on the flank. Maybe they look for a little bit more here. Werlyb here as well. Holding off on the fight.
Here comes Werlyb.
Trying to pull back. That's going to be the Kennen ultimate. Does stun down. Perkz instantly taken out. That's the shutdown. Maybe they can get a little bit more, but Caps is on the backside. He's rolling right in onto Crownshot. The Urgot is just too strong at this point in the game. They cut through him all too easily, and Werlyb is running through the hills. G2, too strong in these fights.
Just the meat grinder right there. They walked it through him with so many members down. I think G2 can actually just push for the win here.
And Wunder's just saying, you're not even going to get back to your base. You're going to spend the full 8 seconds backing. Inhibitor down, 4 members here in the mid lane. Only Perkz dropped in the fight for 3 members of SK. Pirean, 1 man versus the world, 1 Leblanc, nonetheless trying to dash his way through. Caps flying in, ready to follow up here. Trying to take him down. CC does connect on the gravity field. They want to cut through the Leblanc. They are going to be able to take him down. The hook goes in onto Werlyb. That's going to be it. That is all she wrote. SK starting strong, but things potentially turning back. The wave crashes in. Dreams wants to keep this fight going. Knows that the longer it goes, the more likely it is to go in their team's favor. Crownshot is here as well. Maybe this is the point to turn for SK. Crownshot firing in. Gravity field not quite going to connect. Dreams, though, now caught out in no man's land. Backing off as Wunder goes on a killing spree. Funneling in one at a time. G2 now set their sights on the Nexus. Not a lot of hope left. The classic G2 maneuver. They move in. They're just looking to make these guys feel like they have lost it all. Crownshot trying to flee, trying to get something back. Kicked into the team. They will get one, but G2 now realizing the end is in sight will just focus the Nexus and take down SK.
And it looked good for a moment for SK. Some of the kills going back and forth. The first blood into Pirean, like, okay, maybe someone could go toe-to-toe with this G2 squad, but it felt like the game face turned on. Caps had a huge roam across the map and just single-handedly tipped the scales for every single lane. And then once G2 are ahead, they just smash you.
Absolutely the case. In a brutal circumstance for sure. You feel like there were sparks there from SK, but they could just never get a fire started. Not quite enough to swing things truly in their favor at any point.
I do feel like I want to compliment that SK felt, okay, this is our composition. We know that we need to go in. We know that we need these flanks with the Kennen ultimate. We're behind, but we must do something because we'll just get outscaled. So I like the fact that, yeah, maybe it felt like they threw because they lost so quickly, but they were just trying to be proactive. They were trying to make sense of, they're just going to win one way or another, or at some point in this game, let's see if we can turn it and make them lose. Let's see if we can outplay them on this team fight.
And hey, better to take the chance than to die slowly. We've seen plenty of teams do that up against G2. But they remain undefeated, 5-0 at the top of the LEC standings. An improvement, I think, from SK in some of the areas we were looking for. Saw more proactive plays in some of those key situations where we hadn't in past weeks.
Looked like they were trying to play around Pirean. It felt like the game plan was, we're afraid of Caps, see if we can do to shut him down. Can't shut down Caps.
It does start to feel impossible when you see the XL game, and now you see this game as well. But looking back, smiles across the faces of G2, feeling good as they move forward into the rest of the split. Have to wonder who can contest them. Maybe Misfits?
I mean, I think the most terrifying thing about G2
Maybe
is,
Vitality.
again, it almost feels like they're never challenged, that they very rarely have to show you that game face. You know, you see them take the stage, get set, it's all jovial, laughing, smiles, happy, and even when it starts to feel like a little bit pressure, people think back to that XL game, maybe a couple of moments in this SK game, you never feel scared for G2. It feels like they're still always in control, or they have that next gear shift.
I'll be honest, I was a little scared.
You were scared?
When I saw Perkz die to that Braum queue, I was a little nervous. But we can look back. Let's check out some of the highlights from G2's win here in a moment. Appreciate
Everyone gets one.
fine G2 moments. And notice that we edited out the parts where G2 died and just followed up with this sick clip. Oh,
The save from Jankos, and then the follow-up from Caps.
how low did he get?
This is like an alley-oop.
Oh, someone's gonna need to find out. It's just two. And this one right here, this is like they lined up into the meat grinder. Perkz is the meat grinder, by the way.
And this is how the composition works in those team fights. When you have a Viktor and you have a Sejuani, the AoE zone control and threat that those two champions exert over a team fight just means that Ezreal can literally stand still in certain circumstances and just dish out massive damage.
I remember seeing that Ezreal ult change and not thinking it was a big deal.
It's a big deal.
It's a big deal. It does so much damage. It does so much damage. Now, if you saw a player that stood out, be sure to vote for the key player of the game at LEC Sports on Twitter is the place. We've narrowed it down to Jankos, Mikyx, and Caps. If you die to Braum queue, you don't get a player of the game. Sorry, Perkz. Those are the rules.
He hit
I
like
don't make
two
them.
amazing ultimates. It's the one Q and like, nah, kill it.
It's actually not. That's not how it works. The panel chooses. I trust the panel. And honestly, in any G2 game, it feels like it can beat anybody. And for one of those people who is eligible for player of the game, let's head over an interview with Laure.
Thank you very much, guys. Jankos joined me here. Undefeated still, guys. 5-0 now. Were you expecting this?
I mean, I do think I have very talented players in my team. I'm not sure if I was expecting 5-0, but I was expecting to win.
We'll get back to the players later on. I want to bring up something. Even though you're victorious, you seem to have some issues sometimes in the early game, especially on bot lane. It's maybe some skirmishes. How do you explain that, and what do you have to do to avoid doing these mistakes in the future?
I mean, I think our bot lane is really good, but sometimes maybe they try to fight a lot. I don't really know what happened this game, that they died 2v2, but I do know that they were asking me to help a little bit, but I was not there in time. But it still feels like we can adapt and play well enough to turn it around. Even though not always, you know, we kill 2v2, but we can always play around bot lane, and that's what matters.
Do you think right now there's no team that can match G2? You can remain undefeated?
I mean, in Europe, I think we have talented teams. I think Misfits is really good. I do think Vitality is really good as well. I think at some point Fnatic will bounce back and become a good team. So personally, I'm still excited to, you know, play our next opponent.
Now, a bit more about the team, because I talked to Perkz about this. I want to have your opinion as a jungler. How is it to play with Caps recently?
I think it's really easy to play with Caps. I do think he talks less about his laning phase than Perkz did, but I also feel like he's really good. I mean, not saying Perkz is not, but Caps is really insane. So it just comes naturally that it's easy to play on mid lane, and he will always look for something in game, and he will always go for the outplay, and he will always outplay. And I think it's kind of fun, and it's a pleasure to play with Caps.
Okay, now that you mentioned it, I have to ask, because you've been playing with Perkz for years now, it's Caps. Who's the best one?
I mean, Perkz is the best AD carry in Europe, and then Caps is the best mid lane in Europe.
Okay, you got a nice way out of it. Thank you very much for joining me for this one. We're gonna take a short break, and when we come back, it's gonna be Schalke 04 versus Splice. Don't go anywhere, guys.
Thank you.
Pirean, though, may have overstayed his welcome now. Needs to try to make his way out to safety. First blood, taking down Caps, getting too aggressive, too reliant on the jungler. Jankos is going to get one back. Now they're trying to set their sights on Jankos. Two stacks going to look for the chain CC, trying to delete the jungler, but Mikyx is off to the side. Perkz is just free damage across the entire line. Here comes Werlyb, but he might be a little bit too late. Now the Fear are going to get pulled back. They're just getting shredded. Holding off on the fight.
Here comes Werlyb.
Trying to pull back. That's going to be the Kennen ultimate. Does stun him down. Perkz instantly taken out. That's the shutdown. Maybe they can get a little bit more, but Caps is on the backside. He's rolling right in onto Crownshot. The Urgot is just too strong at this point in the game. They cut through him all too easily, and they will get one. But G2 now realizing the end is in sight will just focus the Nexus and take down SK.